They announced in their September SEC filing, this is TKO, and Ari Emanuel himself admitted in an interview around that time that Vince McMahon's association with TKO could have adverse financial and operational impacts on our business. So they knew what percentage of this they knew, I don't know. But Ari Emanuel, especially because he represents him in a talent aspect as well, or did, Ari Emanuel, that...
Well, they knew he was a liability before they even signed with them. I think they did their due diligence, and they knew Vince's background. I think they investigated Vince, and they knew what they were getting into. And I think this is another one of my theories. I think they signed onto the deal knowing that they was going to get rid of Vince. I think they knew of this girl wanting to charge Vince. I think they knew of that before they signed on. And I think they made a decision to do it anyway and then get rid of him. I think because, remember, we've talked about this before. Where did these charges first emanate?
The charges...
New York Post, right?
Oh, well...
No, I mean, the first time it was leaked to a media source.
Oh, something like April, May 2022, something like that.
Okay, but the New York Post leaked it.
I don't know if it was them. Maybe it was Forbes or Variety. I can't remember who originally leaked it, but it was...
But it got leaked.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think Endeavor and Nick Khan, I think they leaked it because they wanted to cause a turmoil around Vince, which they did, and therefore making it easier for them to get rid of him. So they went through all this stuff, put him back in. I mean, I don't know how much they had to do with putting him back in. I think he got himself put back in.
Yeah. He blackmailed him to get back in because he basically said, I've got voting shares, the majority voting shares here. You can't do anything, including sell the company without my say-so. So because the board had already unanimously voted for him to not return to the board.
Right.
And then Vince still returned because they were over a barrel.
This was way before Endeavor took over. Yes?
Yeah.
And I think, well, we can take it over, but what are we going to do about Vince? So I think they got this leaked, and now they put Vince on another path, and that he's going to have trouble getting out of, or it's going to entail a lot of his time. See, I don't know if we'll ever know what happened, but I think there was a lot of people working before all this broke. And they knew what they were going to break. They knew how Vince would react to it. And they pushed him out.
I'm going to get to the
This is the first time a McMahon has not been in a position of leadership in the WWF or WWE since its inception, right?
Yeah, over 100 years, so they say. Since like Capital Sports and before that.
How old is this company?
I mean, it's various different companies over time, but I mean, New York. New York was a huge territory in the 20s. Jess McMahon.
It was WWF then?
No. I'm not even sure it's called Capital Sports then. I think it might have been called nothing. I don't know what. I'll check.
It may have just been called wrestling.
Yeah, could have been.
Yeah, New York wrestling.
But the old Gold Dust Trio, they use that term for, I can't remember who it is. I thought it was like Wally Carver. I'm probably going to get the entire names wrong. But yeah, ever since at the very least the 20s, like, I can't even get WWE's Wikipedia. Here we go. Before Titan, history of WWE. It's only starting at Capital Sports, so it's only been Capital Sports since the 50s. But yeah, since like the Jess McMahon, it's been going since like either 1910s or 1920s. We're going to get to the trial in a bit, but I want to continue on the what did the board know. And Dave Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio, and no one seems to have picked up on this, and I thought this was a very interesting comment. He said a couple of days ago, he had a conversation with somebody who didn't work for WWE but was best friends with a long-time employee. And Meltzer said there was a whole lot in the lawsuit that I'd never heard before to this guy. And this guy had said, "Why are you so naive? I was friends with guy in WWE and I knew all of it."
See?
So apparently a lot of these stories
it was
spreading.
outside. It was outside the perimeter of Titan Towers, and Titan Towers is a new building, but it was outside the the scope of the company. The employees knew, and they talked to their friends, as the case you're talking about here. So everybody kind of knew what Vince was like. I guess it's crazy. So
it's also strongly hinting that there's been a cover-up within WWE, and essentially it's a cover-up as far as what the employees knew and what the employees or certain employees did or didn't know, and that far more people knew at least partial or the whole truth or nearly the whole truth of the Janel Grant-Vince McMahon relationship, John Laurinaitis dynamic, than they're letting on, because no one's going to want to admit what's happened. I mean, I'm sure Triple H will not want to admit he knew anything. Same with Bruce Pritchard, same with whoever else, Mark Carrano, I don't know, whoever else. I don't think Mark Carrano works there anymore. But still.
No, Mark Carrano's gone. But I don't think they let him go just because he sent those clothes back to, who was it?
Mickey James.
Mickey James. He had other heat from other, because that, just sending it back like that, he could blame that on, he didn't pack it. He told him to pack it, and she said it was all just thrown in there, and it probably was. I'm not saying she's stretching the truth, but it took more than that. He had to have more heat on him to just get out and out released. So, this, I don't think we'll ever find out what really, really happened, but we'll just get to the big parts of it.
Just as I was checking before, there's a couple of bits of news that have come out. One, that Bruce Pritchard has conveniently scheduled tricep surgery, so he's probably going to be out of WWE for a short while. So that's interesting timing. The other thing is that Ann Callis, who is the lawyer for Janel Grant, has been on Morning in America. And
what's his name?
Ann Callis, her name.
A lady.
A lady lawyer, would you believe? They'll be letting him vote next, I'll tell you. And here's what she said. It's been a long process, and she, Janel Grant, wants to speak out for any other victims and eradicate this culture of corruption that has permeated every cell of the WWE. The Grant's attorney continued to say she feels overwhelmed by the number of people who have come forward, including other possible victims. And here's the quote. "My office and my inbox have had a barrage of people wanting to come forward to attest about this culture of corruption and also possible victims." She said, "We are just beginning now to wade through all this, but we're frankly overwhelmed." And one more thing I'll add. Grant wants justice because she wants to change the culture that is going on in the WWE. She wants to help other victims. She thinks by speaking out and coming forward first, the others will feel emboldened and encouraged to come forth. So the big thing that we're seeing there is the lawyer is claiming that there is a barrage of potential new victims that are contacting her and may also want to proceed in a legal manner.
Aha. So what I said, I think on this podcast, she's not going to be the only one speaking out. Now the other victims, and I'm sure there's several, they're saying, well, I might as well get my story out there too. He could have done the same thing to them, saying he may not have paid them all the money, said, why don't you get a lawyer and come after me? They can't afford it. and who knows who's out there, because this is the story, I think, that just won't end right now.
Hey, do you know what I was thinking just then? Inbox full of people, some of them potential victims. Class action suits. How does that grab you?
Like here. Right
in the liver.
But what I'm saying, this is going to cost Vince some big time money. He may be a billionaire, but you know they're the greediest of all, I think. And while I don't relish the thought of Vince having to go through that, but I don't like the thought of if half of what he did that the Grant lady charges, if even just half of it is true, is still horrific. So I don't know, but I don't think the story is going to go away. And I think Vince's I think Vince's attitude right now, he's either frantic or he's mad as hell. Either way is dangerous because now he's going to throw everything he can back at these people, and we'll see where it goes.
He's going to want Jerry McDivitt back out of retirement. He only just retired.
Why do you think McDivitt quit?
Well, I mean, it could be because he may have seen the storm coming, but he was also 75. Could have just retired.
But anyway, I think that the victims, and it's very telling that her inbox, her email box, is full of victims,
alleged
victims that something happened to them at the hands of Vince or WWE. So the case is going to build on its own by just the people hearing this. And again, we'll see where it goes because it's to me, it's a very interesting story.